I'm Alan Down, and I get asked a lot about when is the right time to pick an apple. Lots of people find it very difficult to determine when an apple is ripe and whether it can be stored or not. So to look at when it's ripe, here's a few tips. First of all, with a few varieties, you can actually rattle them and hear the pips moving. When it's immature, they don't move. This one I can't hear it, but some varieties do, some don't. The easier way of doing it is to cut an apple through, and this variety is Sunset, and have a look at the pips. Now the pips on these are brown. They're actually well ripe. That's right for eating. So perhaps I should have picked the apple maybe a week earlier for storing. I'm sure this will store because Sunset is an excellent variety. It's a Cox's Orange Pippin-like variety, but doesn't keep as long. It's juicy now, but becomes softer later on. Always a very fine flavour. Crops every year without fail. These trees are 25, 27 years old. We've never had a failure. So Sunset is a really easy variety to grow. Where it's better than Cox is it isn't prone to pests and diseases, particularly the diseases that Cox gets. Cox is a very fine apple, but Sunset's easier to grow. So look for those pips. Cut one open and look for the pips and see if it's ripe. Now, storage. How to store them. I find I have great success storing them as a jumble pack, a pack of filled a polythene bag, just an ordinary polythene bag, fill it 2/3 full. Now there's one I don't want to put in. It's been punctured, it's rotten, that's not going to keep. So all the time as you're putting them in, look for the ones that aren't going to keep. So that's a rotten one there. The others to look for is diseased ones. This has got apple scab. That's probably not going to go on and rot. That's all dried up, but there's a hole here that is going to rot. And once that rots, it touches another apple and transfers from fruit to fruit, just like this. This is a disease that affected the apple as it was growing. It started on one, possibly that one, transferred to the next one, and then to the next, and it's on its way to this one. So when apples grow in a cluster, brown rot can spread. The important thing about this, what we call mummified fruits, is to gather all those and compost them or get them in the bin, get them off your garden, because they carry spores to next year's crop. So continue to fill. That's 2/3 full now. I don't want to put any more in it. Now I'm not going to tie the top, just bend it over and put the bag upside down in a box like so. And then I need to make a few breathing holes. Just with a biro or a pencil, just a half a dozen or so breathing holes, because the polythene actually lets gases go through, it lets a bit of moisture go through, but it prevents the apples from drying out quickly. So they're going to go now into my garage where it has cool, even temperature, and this variety will keep right through to January. I have other varieties like Ashmead's Kernel that will keep through to May. That's a very, very fine variety. A little tricky to grow and not a regular bearer, but it's a local Gloucestershire variety and very often wins in the trials, blind tasting trials, beats Cox. So there we are. Timing is important. Look for the symptoms, look for when they're ripe pips, and don't try to store anything that's blemished. The other thing, finally, once you've got them in the garage, in the cool, check them regularly. Once every 10 days to 2 weeks, have a look at the bag. You can easily look and see if there's a rotten one in there. If there is, whip it out and then just close it up and put it back again. So that's your best fruit in store. Checking them regularly to make sure that they don't rot. But those that fall off the tree and those that are blemished and damaged, those aren't completely wasted. You can cut out the bad bits and you can juice them, have them crushed and drink the juice straight away. Or alternatively, you can leave those that are not diseased on the floor for the birds to feast on during the winter.